Hi there, Jim Fortin here, MindAuthorityNetwork.com, and in this quick video you're going to learn how to grow your Isagenix business with the ultimate house party closing formula. Now when I use the word close, that's simply semantics. You can use whatever word you choose: close, enrollment, engagement, onboard, whatever it is that you want. What I want you to know about this video and this formula, I want you to know that it is tested and it is proven to work. Let's say, for example, that you're doing fine, you're doing okay with your house parties and, enrolling people into Isagenix. I've had people say that what they've learned here has taken them from doing okay to 100% close rate at their parties. On the flip side, I've also had people say, Jim, I really wasn't doing that well until I learned what you shared with me in that video, and since that time, I have been having successful house parties. So it doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum, doesn't matter who you are, how long you've been on Isagenix, or where you are. As you're going to find, what you're going to learn here will literally help you take your house parties and your success rate to the next level. This quick 30-minute video will forever change how you lead guests at your house parties. Now, the operative words there are lead guest, as you're going to find it's very easy to get them from no to yes when you understand how to get into their unconscious mind and how to ethically influence them subconsciously. You're also going to learn a step-by-step formula, and it's actually, you're going to get them to want Isagenix. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the work out of the house parties, and we're going to get them wanting to become a member of Isagenix, and we're going to get them wanting to ask you to become a member of Isagenix, and it's going to significantly improve the results that you get at each and every house party. So let me ask you, when it comes to getting people to sign on the dotted line at your house parties, what are your biggest obstacles? Now, as far as I'm concerned and attending house parties, these are the biggest obstacles that I see. First is eliminating resistance. Literally, getting people from no to yes. The second is eliminating skepticism. You know what I mean, and you know the skepticism that many people have about multi-level marketing. The next is getting compliance, meaning getting people to say, yes, I will listen, I will follow, yes, I am interested in Isagenix. And then finally, inciting action, getting people to say, absolutely, I'll sign on the dotted line. Now, these are your biggest obstacles, and to eliminate these obstacles, you must get into your prospect's mind. Because as you know, as you're standing up and you're delivering during your house party, your prospects are sitting there thinking, does this work? I've tried everything. Why would this work? Okay, here we go. I've heard it all before. They might even be thinking, is this real? And they might even be thinking, multi-level marketing, what was I thinking to even come here today? And then some people will say, no time. And some people will even say, no money. Let me ask you, how do you get people over and past these objections? It's really quite simple to do when you get in their mind. Now, what most people do, and as you're going to see here next couple of slides, what most people do is they never get into their prospect's mind. So I'm going to show you how to do that. What I want you to get from this video is that you can easily lead and influence your guest when you understand the mind maze they're going through while at your house party. You see, research has demonstrated that up to 95% of all decisions are unconsciously made. And to move people, you must lead them unconsciously. Folks, consider that for a moment. Up to 95% of all decisions are unconsciously made. That means up to 95% of a decision to get involved with Isagenix is all unconsciously made. So in the past, how did you persuade and how did you influence your prospects unconsciously? Now, I'm not going to drag this out, but I want to tell you about the last couple of house parties that I went to. This is what happened. First, we walk in, we sit down, everybody's kind of mingling a little bit. It's kind of quiet, yet it's a jovial environment. It's nice, it's pleasant, the place is clean. So there are 3 people hosting the meeting. And then there are obviously those of us there learning about Isagenix. Now, what they didn't know is I actually went there to actually just watch them deliver their house party. What happened is the person that actually was leading the meeting wasn't really quite sure of what to do next, the order. They kind of fumbled around the front of the room just a little bit. It wasn't really overt and it wasn't really obvious, yet I noticed it. And the reason that I tell you that is that you do not want to be perfect because people do not like perfect people, yet practice. Practice what you're going to say at your house parties. See, people want to be led, and they want to be led by people who are confident. So if you're up in the front of the room in your living room and you're fumbling around a little bit and you're not sure what's going to happen next, you are conveying a sense of perhaps you're not prepared or maybe you're even not confident, and that is the wrong unconscious message to send to people at your house party. So the person got up, they fumbled around a little bit, they told their story. All right, then another person in Isagenix who was there said, wait, I want to tell my story. Then someone else got up and said, wait, I want to tell my story. Now notice here we had three people, and understandably they're passionate. I mean, I'm passionate. We're passionate about Isagenix. But they all got up and told their story. Now we're 40 minutes into the meeting. We haven't watched the video and nothing's happened yet except we've listened to three people tell their stories. What's wrong with this scenario? Well, what's wrong with this scenario and this approach is there's no frame to it. There's a small frame that you're given at Isagenix, but there's no formal psychological frame, which I'll show you here in just a moment. And in particular, this is vital, folks. So let me ask you folks, let me ask you another question here. Let's say that you go to a retail store, somewhere that you want to buy something. Let's say that you go to the Apple store. Do you go to the Apple store because of what's in it for Apple, or do you go there because of what's in it for you? Well, obviously, you go there because of what's in it for you. Yet what I want you to notice here is that these people at the house party, they weren't talking to the people that were there about what's in it for them. They were talking about it from their own perspective as if it was what's in it for me, meaning the people delivering the party. Folks, that is a backwards paradigm, as I'm going to show you in just a moment. You want to make your house parties all about the people that came to the house party, not about you. You see, when you make it about them, those who attend the house party, they'll sell themselves, as you're about to discover. So what you want to do is you want to open your party and you want to lead your guest, because see, people will only go where they are led. I want you to get that. People will only go where they are led. You lead them nowhere, they go nowhere. If it's your past house parties, they haven't registered and become a member of Isagenix, it's because you have not led them there. So as I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, practice. Learn what you're going to say, learn what you're going to get here, and then practice it and practice it. Again, you don't have to be perfect, but you do want to be fluid and fluent in your delivery. Next, you want to set your frame. I'll show you exactly what I mean in just a moment. You want to create expectation at your parties. See, the mind actually loves expectation, and when you set expectation, the brain looks for that expectation to be true. As a matter of fact, in research, researchers have found that when people are given a placebo and they're told that it's morphine, they get results 75% of the time. You also want to suggest an outcome. You put nothing down in terms of a psychological lead, your guest will pick nothing up. You also want to engage your guest. And again, I will show you how to do every bit of this step by step. Also, you want to tell your story. Now, the parties that I just talked about, these people got up and they told their story and they told a story, and folks, I mean this kindly, but this is the way that the brain works. If there's nothing in it for the person listening, the brain starts tuning out. So what the brain heard when these people were telling their stories, the brain literally heard a little bit, and then the brain heard blah 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 blah. That's how the brain works, folks. You've got to engage people. I'm going to show you how to do that in 3 parts to pull them right in. You've got to turn up the pain. See, people move from pain to pleasure. The reason that they're at your house party is because they're in some kind of pain. You've got to get compliance and you've got to lead them. Meaning you've got to get them to say yes, nodding their head, I want this, and then you've got to lead them over and get them registered. You've got to obviously show your video, and then again, lead to registration. Now, I showed you a lot here, but folks, really this is quite simple. I'm going to break all this down. I'm going to make it very easy for you in the next couple of minutes. Anyone can do what you're learning here. Okay, how to formally open your house party. Folks, I'm going to give you the exact verbiage that I would use in a house party. And again, you're going to be able to print all of this out, but I'm going to give you the exact verbiage because the verbiage that I'm going to give you will lead them psychologically exactly where you want them to go. I didn't mention this earlier, but I think it's important that you know. If someone asked me to write this out, what I'm giving you here now in this entire video, if someone came to me and said, Jim, will you script out my entire challenge party? I'd say, absolutely, I'll script it out. In exchange, you script out a $10,000 check for me. What you're going to find is that I am a master of words. This is what I do for a living, and I can get anyone anywhere given the right circumstances. And when it comes to your house parties, it's very easy to get them where you want them to go when you do what I'm going to show you here. So this is what I would say. Hi, I want to welcome everyone here today. I could tell you that today could be a life-changing event for you, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let you discover it for yourself over the next hour. And then if you don't know everyone there, you can say, you know, my name is Jim Fortin, and before I tell you about myself, I'd like to learn a little about you, or I'd like to learn a little bit about some of you and what brings you out today. When you say that last part, it reverts the focus from you and it pushes the focus onto them, which is why they're there. So let me show you what's quote unquote hidden in here psychologically. Now mind you, I teach persuasion and influence for a living, so I'm going to teach you how to persuade. Okay, so I could tell you that today could be a life-changing event for you. Folks, you're setting an expectation, you're exciting, you're engaging the imagination. I mean, who doesn't want a life-changing event? Who doesn't want something in their lives that's going to make their lives better? Also, I'm using a language pattern here. When I say I could tell you that today could be a life-changing event for you, but I'm not going to do that, what did you literally just tell them? Yes, you covertly told them that it's going to be life-changing, but you're not going to tell them that it's life-changing. And the way that you constructed that sentence, you actually told them that it's going to be life-changing. And then you said, I'm going to let you discover it for yourself. Folks, we are so anesthetized to marketing and marketing messages and advertising and sales that we never believe what other people say to us. Yet, when we discover it for ourselves, we automatically believe it. So when I say I'm going to let you discover it for yourself, what I'm implying there is, you know what? Don't take my word for it. Discover it for yourself. When they discover it for themselves, that it is life-changing, they automatically buy into it. Boom, just like that. The next part there where it says over the next hour. The brain needs a frame. The brain needs to know what's going to happen. I want you to think back to a time in the past when you went to some event and you weren't sure what was going to happen or how long you're going to be there. Notice how antsy you were. Yet, I want you to think back to a time in the past when you went to an event and you knew what was going to happen and you knew how much of your time would be expected. It was easier for you to relax into the presentation because you knew what was going to happen. The brain had a frame. And then the next part is, I'm going to tell you a bit about myself, but before I do that, I want to learn a little bit about some of you folks. What brings you out here today? That reverts the focus back to them. When you get them talking about themselves, when you get them talking about what they want, guess what happens? They begin selling themselves, which means you no longer have to sell because they are selling themselves. Okay, as I said, engagement, getting them involved. See, that creates desire. So you've got to get them talking about themselves, their wants, and their reason for being there. Because once they start talking about that, their wants will drive their desires. And what do you want the end result to be? Obviously, you want the end result to be that they become a member of Isagenix. So get them talking, and even if it's your friends, even if it's your mother, Mom, what brings you out tonight? I know that you've seen me lose weight or you've seen changes in my life. Other than the fact that you didn't want to stay at home and cook dinner for Dad, make a joke out of it, what really brings you out tonight? Folks, also, this is psychological. When they start talking about what brings them out for the evening, not only are they selling themselves, they're owning it, and they're already imagining themselves getting those benefits from Isagenix. Basically, they're doing the work for you. Okay, after engaging your guest, you can say, well, in the beginning, this is what we call pacing in neurolinguistics. In the beginning, those were the exact things that brought me out. And the fact that you're here means that some part of you is already thinking that Isagenix might be your best chance to blank, meaning to lose weight, to make money, whatever it is that they told you they wanted when they were talking about themselves. I mean, after all, would you block out time, get in your car, and drive over here if you didn't think at some level that Isagenix couldn't blank, meaning help you make money, lose weight, whatever it is for them? And then you can say, I wouldn't. Well, okay, let's go through this. What is psychologically hidden in here? Okay, what's psychologically hidden is those were the exact things. Basically, you're telling them, hey, I'm like you. Folks, research has demonstrated that up to 90% of every sale comes down to how well we like the person that we're interacting with and how similar they are to us. The more similar you are to them, the more they're going to like you, and the more they're going to be inclined to become involved with Isagenix. Next is we have a language pattern. If I said to you the fact that you're watching this video means that you want to grow your sales, could you argue and say, I'm not watching this video? No, you can't. And I also put meaning to what you're doing. I said the fact that you're watching this video means that you want to grow your sales. I just said something to you that you cannot argue with. Think back to the beginning of this video. I said we want to get compliance. The more that people say yes to you, the more that they will say yes to you. So the next line is the fact that you're here, they can't argue. They can't say, what do you mean? I'm not here, because they're sitting there right there in front of you. The fact that you're here means that some part of you is already thinking. Folks, notice how you're saying a truism there when you say some part of you is already thinking. Again, they can't argue with that. They can't say, well, some part of me is not thinking that, because if they weren't thinking it, they wouldn't be there. Notice I also have best chance. I mean, all of us, what do we want? We want the best chance to make something happen in our lives. So what you're doing here is you're leading their thinking and you're planting a suggestion. You're actually using truisms to get them to say yes. You're leading with a suggestion, and you're actually making Isagenix their best chance to lose weight, to feel good, to make money, to live the life of their dreams. Now below, when I say think at some level, again, this is a truism. They have to be thinking at some level that Isagenix could be the solution they're looking for. So in a nutshell, what this verbiage does, and again, you can print all this out, you can actually reword it a little bit. What I want you to use here is the psychological strategy that I'm giving you. But what I'm giving you here actually paces where they are in their own mind, and it starts creating agreement. Speaking of that, when I showed you the image earlier of the person and all the bubbles above their head, what you've got to do to move people is you have to get into their mind. This is important. You have to enter the conversation they are already having in their own mind. When you enter that conversation, it's literally as if you're talking to them and you're sitting in their own mind conversing with them. Just like when I said here, the fact that you're here means they can't argue with that. Once you get into their mind, as I'm showing you to do, they can't argue. They must become compliant. They must follow you. They have no choice. And then the last one here is Isagenix couldn't blank. See, they can't disagree with that because the fact that they're there means that they believe at some level that Isagenix can. So again, you're saying things that people cannot argue with. Now, after you've engaged them, after you've just said what I've told you to say, which means you're now leading them, now, not at the beginning, now it's time to tell your story. Very simple here. You're going to use your own words. I'm simply going to give you a strategy, but you're going to tell your story in 3 parts. Now, I'm going to give you some suggestive words, but again, use what you want. What's most important to me is that you understand how to construct the story. The first part is you want to eliminate their objections. We're going to use a third-party metaphor. Remember all the little air bubbles. We're going to actually eliminate those very, very easily with your story. Next, I want you to put them in pain. See, pain is what moves people. People move from pain to pleasure. The biggest mistake that a lot of people make in MLMs is that everybody wants to sell the bubbly picture, the money and the success. Well, folks, that's not what moves people, and that is research demonstrated. What moves people is pain. The more pain you elicit in someone, the easier and the quicker they are going to move. I want you to consider for a moment the headline on a newspaper. The headlines are never all the rosy things that are happening in the world. The headlines are all the bad things that are happening in the world. Because see, the way the brain is hardwired, and this is a vestige of our evolution, the brain is always looking for danger. It's always looking to protect us. So the brain will actually look for danger and pain before it will look for pleasure. But what I want you to get is people move from pain to pleasure. And the fact that they're at your party means they have some degree of pain somewhere in their life. And then finally, tell your success story, which is going to be the solution. Notice the formula there. First, we're eliminating objections. Next, we're talking about pain. And then finally, we're offering them a solution, which is obviously becoming a member of Isagenix. So let's go into your story, part 1, and here's where we're going to eliminate the objections. This is exactly what I would say. I also have to say, like some of you, the first house party I came to, I was sitting there skeptical and thinking, you know, I've tried everything, no results. We've all been there, right? Well, notice here what I'm saying in my verbiage, I've tried everything. Notice how the thought bubbles, they were already thinking they've tried everything. What you're doing when you say something like this, I'll show you in just a moment, is you are entering their mind. You're entering their thinking. And while the person was talking like I am now, I started thinking, what if? What if this could really change my life like many people are saying? Then I got into all of my excuses. I don't have time. It might not be real. Can I do this? Can I lose weight? I don't have the money, etc. You know what I'm talking about, right? Now notice, when you say this, you're saying to them what they were already saying in their own mind before you ever even opened your mouth. Now formally what this does in neurolinguistics, you are pacing and you are affirming their thoughts and objections. Now when I say affirming their thoughts and objections, what I want you to get, and then we'll go through this and I'll show you what's hidden even more. There are two kinds of objections, those that they bring up first and those that you bring up first. If you let them have all these objections and then you try to close them at the end, they won't close. You have to eliminate their objections early in your house party with what I'm giving you now. Because see, if they bring up the objection first, before you do, what happens then psychologically, that puts you in the beta position, that makes you defensive, they are now controlling you and leading you, and then you're thinking, oh, please, 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 please become a member of Isagenix. You have literally given them control of the sales situation. So let's see, and by the way, I'll help you more with all of this because at the end of this, you're going to find a list of complimentary videos where all of this is explained in even more detail here at the Mind Authority Network. Let me show you what's hidden here. Okay, I also have to say, like some of you, when you say that, like some of you, you're already affirming that, hey folks, I already know you're thinking this, and I was just like you. I was sitting there skeptical and thinking. What are you saying with that? You're saying, you know what? I'm just like you. I was sitting there skeptical and thinking. Notice also what's implied here, yet it's not obvious. You were also just like them, yet you got over it because if you didn't get over the skepticism, you wouldn't be up in front of the room. So what you're literally doing through, this is called third-party metaphor, you're literally telling them You're literally telling them their story, but you're making it your story. So this is the first part of your story that you're using to eliminate their objections. And then you said things like no results. Because see, they're sitting there thinking, yep, I get all of that. That's me, that's me, that's me. What you're doing again is you're being a metaphor because they're saying that's me, that's me, that's me. Yet you're using yourself as an example to say you got through and you got past all of this and now you have a better life. You have moved from pain to pleasure. We've all been there, right? When you ask this question, wait for compliance. When you say that, you know, folks, we've all been there, right? Make sure they're nodding their heads. You're leading them and you're getting compliance. I'll show you at the end of this video why it's important. And then, while the person was talking, that's literally what we call a hypnotic suggestion. It's because you are talking, and you're actually telling them while the person was talking, which leads the mind to follow you while you're talking. I started thinking. Now you're actually prompting them to start thinking about what you're telling them. You know, what if this really could change my life? Remember when we started this video, one part of your frame was that tonight was going to be life-changing. Notice how you're leading their thinking all the way through the presentation. And also, as you're going to notice when you print this out, even though it looks like a lot, it's really not. I mean, you can learn all of this in a couple of hours. And then you said, I got into all of my excuses. What they're doing is they're saying, I'm getting into my excuses too, but okay, if she got into her excuses and she got through it, okay, maybe I can too. That's what they're thinking. You know what I'm talking about, right? Again, you're asking for compliance here. You have to get compliance. What you do not want to do is just plow over them. You want to get them to agree that yes, they understand what you're saying, because you're going to use all of this, for a lack of better words, you're going to use this to close them with a couple of sentences at the end of your presentation after the video. Now, you go into your story. Part 2 of the story is pain. And that's when I realized that sooner or later, I needed to do something different, or I'll eventually find myself even heavier and even worse off financially. And that scared the heck out of me. In that moment, as some of you here today will, I realized I'm tired of feeling bad and being broke. And then I thought, I could think about this all day long and do nothing, or I can finally do something different. Now, you folks at Isagenix are a smart bunch. Are you beginning to see what's hidden in here? We're leading them here. And that's when I realized you're prompting them to realize that sooner or later, notice it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, sooner or later, I need to do something different, or I'll eventually find myself. No one wants to eventually find themselves upside down or heavier or worse off. Heavier and even worse off. Folks, that is pain. When you use words like that, heavier and even worse off. No one wants to find themselves there. So as you're talking about this, what are they doing in their own mind? They're saying, that could be me, that could be me, that could be me. I want to move away from that pain. I want to move away from that pain. I want to move away from that pain. Now what are they looking for? They're looking for a solution, which is Isagenix. And then you go into scared the heck out of me. And in that moment, which right there with that line, you're telling them, you're planting a suggestion, boom, right now in this moment, some of you here today are going to start changing your thinking. Because then you say the word like realized. Again, folks, these are advanced words. Just go with them. They're very simple words, but they're advanced when it comes to leading the mind. I'm not going to go into it all now, yet there are other videos you can watch at the end of this. And then you go into, I'm tired of feeling bad. And then I thought, I could think about this all day long and do nothing, or I could finally do something different. What you're telling them there through third-party metaphor is that you sitting there on the couch, you can think about this all day long and do nothing, or you can finally do something if you want a solution and you want to get out of pain. What you've done here is you've led them from sitting there on the couch in their mind to, okay, I understand what that person in the front of the room is saying, and I also have to do something different. Folks, I want to point out that pain is your best leverage. This is a fact. Everyone joins Isagenix because they're moving away from one of two pains or both. They're moving away from a pain of not having money, or they're moving away from physical pain. You have to leverage this. Like I talked about the newspaper earlier. Look there on the right. Look at the headlines. Look at the news. Everything starts with something painful or something bad, because that is what moves people. Look at traditional advertising. Crest never starts their commercials and says you're going to have a beautiful, beautiful smile. Crest always starts with, if you do not use our toothpaste, you're going to get gingivitis. They start with pain first because that's what works. The brain is hardwired, as I said earlier, to move from pain to pleasure. So in the part of your story where you use pain, you want to go into the pain and you want to talk about the pain that people experience. Because see, again, that makes them say, okay, yep, I get it, that's me, I want to move away from pain. Now your story, part 3. And after this, it gets a whole lot easier. And again, this is very easy in itself. When you print it out and look at it, it's really not that long. Okay, so here's your story, part 3. After that presentation was done, some people got up and left. And then you might even pause for a second, and you might even think, I wonder if their life is any better today. What you're doing is planting a suggestion that if they get up to leave, their life's not going to be any better later. And it was obvious to me. I had to get involved, as some of you will here today. Notice again, you're suggesting that they take action. Because I got involved, I have lost blank, I've made blank, and I have helped change 100 lives or 300 lives, and I've lost 40 pounds, and etc., etc. Notice here where we have this in the psychological formula that I'm giving you. You had right here at the bottom, this is where most people start at their house parties. If you're starting here, you're starting at the wrong end of the psychological equation. You must get into their mind first. So what's hidden? After that presentation was done, you're simply leading them because you know what? The presentation is going to be done at some point. Some people got up and left. You know what? You're telling them that some people might get up and leave. So this is actually pulling away from the heart cell and saying, some of you might leave, but if you do, you're going to have a sucky life, is what you're implying there. Then you said it's obvious to me. Now, the word obvious is a power persuasion word, and I had to get involved. You're planning a suggestion to get involved, as some of you will here today. And then finally here, because I got involved, I have lost blank, I've made blank, and I've helped change countless lives. And you can do the same. So put your own variables in there. I've lost 27 pounds, I've qualified for this, and I've helped 347 people live better lives. Okay, so when it comes to your story, that's your story, part 1, part 2, and part 3. As you can see, there's an obvious formula to it. And then you can go on to suggest your outcome for them. Now you're getting ready to put in the video, and you can say, before you watch the video, one suggestion. While you're watching the video, put any analysis aside. Do not overthink this, and pay attention to how Isagenix can help you lose weight, make money, purify your body, cleanse your body. You put your own, your own variables in there. And when we're done, if you're like most people, I think you'll agree that this might just be exactly what you need. And then you put your own variables in there to make the kind of money you want, to lose the weight you want, to be as healthy as you want, to feel good, to have more energy. The end result, whatever it might be, in the end result is pleasure. Folks, what you're doing there, this is what we call in hypnosis a post-hypnotic suggestion. And if you don't already know it, I'm a master hypnotist, and if you do not know it, hypnosis is endorsed by the American Medical Association, as well as Harvard, Stanford, Columbia, Yale, the British Medical, the American Psychological, and the American Psychiatric Associations. What I'm doing here is I am literally planting suggestions for what I want them to think as they're watching the video. And what I want them to think as they're watching the video is that they're not going to overanalyze it, they're not going to overthink it, they're not going to talk themselves out of it. I want them to think while they're watching that video that Isagenix is the solution. Notice there I have the word highlighted, underlined, while you're watching the video. And then I go on to say, if you're like most people, I'm planting a suggestion, because no one's going to say, well, am I like most people or am I not like most people? They're automatically, boom, going to buy into that. And then you go on to suggest, I think you'll agree that this just might be exactly what you need to, again, end result, pleasure. Lose weight, clean your body, cleanse your body, detoxify, make the money, whatever it is that you want them to get for the end result. Notice here, folks, pay attention. Notice you are literally leading their thought as if you're just threading it all the way through the presentation. Okay, now you're going to play your video. And then right after your video, you can say any variation of these. You could say, it all makes sense, doesn't it? Make sure they all nod and say yes. If not, ask again and wait for a nod from everyone. What you're doing is you're binding them to a commitment. When they all agree that it makes sense, and we'll tighten this down a little more, at the end, when you're wanting to close them, they have to close because they're agreeing that it makes sense earlier in the presentation. And then you can say, can you see exactly how this can help you lose weight, feel better, and be healthier? Now, there's a little typo there. Actually, I was going to ask it in a different way, but you just ask it as a question if you want. Again, what you're doing is you're binding them, because when they agree, when they say, yes, I can see it, they are selling themselves. They are binding themselves, and they're saying it verbally in front of other people. They're also making a little commitment by saying yes. Little commitments lead to larger commitments. And then you can even say, this is what I would say. Can you see why it's important that you cleanse your body? Can you see why it's important that you detoxify your body? That's the number one question that I would ask. I would ask the first part, it all makes sense, doesn't it? And then I would skip down and say, can you see why it's important? And wait for a yes. When they say yes, boom, you have just what I call bound every person in the room to the end result. Notice I even chose the word important, that you detoxify your body. Now, what's hidden in here is it all makes sense, doesn't it? Again, you're getting compliance. Can you see how? By that, you're getting compliance. And can you see why it's important? All three of these, all that you're simply doing is getting compliance. The more that people comply, the more they will comply. See, what you're looking for is an agreement that they like it, that it makes sense, it's reasonable, it's important. Mainly, what you want to do is you want to get them to agree that they need it, and then finally, it's a solution to their problem, which is the pain we talked about earlier. The entire Isagenix experience is a solution to their pain. Finally, you can ask or you can say, before we get you started losing weight or making money or whatever their end result is, was there anything that was not answered that could stop you from registering or getting involved, whatever your choice of words is, coming on board, whatever it is for you? Is there anything that could stop you from getting registered today or getting on the product today or getting on the program today, whatever it might be? Ask this because now they're going to bring up anything they might have left. What you probably have already done by this point is eliminated 99% of any objection they might have, but if they still have an objection, you're going to eliminate it here. And notice here you're also saying you're leading them before we get you started. It's not if we get you started. It's already implied that we're going to get you started. Was there anything that was not covered? You want to know that. Okay, they might ask questions. Very simple here. We're wrapping up. When answering their questions, no more yes or no answers. No more answers without leading them somewhere. For example, somebody just said recently at a house party, my son is trying to gain muscle. Can this help him? Well, what the host said was yes, absolutely. Wrong. What I'd rather you say is this. Yes, he's going to find that when he uses the product, he's going to blank, meaning get advantage over the others. And unlike a lot of the garbage on the market that people get at GNC and other places, our product is blank, blank, and blank. You put your benefits in the blank, and it's going to help him gain lean muscle quicker because of blank. Notice what we're doing there. We're simply not just saying yes or no. We're leading their thinking by saying he's going to find, he's going to discover, he's going to realize, he's going to get. We have simply led their thinking without just simply saying yes or no. Okay, final thing here before we're going to get them to sign on the dotted line now. Now we're going to lead them. This is the most important part, and it's only a couple of sentences. If you've done everything else, this will be very easy. Okay, so this is what you say. Just a minute ago, you said you could see how important Isagenix could, or how you said you could see how Isagenix could blank and blank, didn't you? What I would say is you could see how important it is that you detoxify your body, didn't you? Wait for everyone to say yes. When they say yes, they must register. And then you can say, and this is what we call a language pattern, if you knew absolutely for certain that Isagenix could help you detoxify your body, lose weight, make money, whatever it might be, you would get involved, wouldn't you? See, the only reason people do not do things is because they're not certain. So when you postulate it in this way, if you knew absolutely for certain, you were forcing them to say yes by asking it this way. When they all say yes, presentation's over. Time to whip out the forms and get them enrolled in Isagenix. And then you finally say, great, let's get you started. I also want to point out here, whatever option you offer is probably going to be the option that they select. People actually, I've worked with many multi-level marketing companies, and people many times will pick one option they like to offer. Well, what I want you to get is whatever you offer is what they are going to select. So make sure that you offer them the best opportunity and that you set them up for success long term. For me, that means offering the 90-day program because that is their best chance for success. So notice here in the red, you could see how. They've already said yes earlier. And when you say didn't you, you're making them say yes. If you knew absolutely for certain, what you're doing is you're creating certainty there, you would get involved, wouldn't you? Again, you're forcing them, for lack of better terms, you're leading them, there we go, you're leading them to say yes. So great, let's get you started. All right, so go ahead and assume the close as we just did, pass out your forms, and get them into the system. Folks, it is really that easy. Now, I know that it took me a little while to go through this, but print this out, read through it several times, write it down on paper yourself, learn the steps through this. You will find that when you use this formula, you will close significantly more business. I absolutely guarantee it. Now, possible objections you might get. I have to think about it. I don't have time. I don't have the money, and I'm still not convinced. you may get these. No more time in this video, but I will cover these other objections here at the Mind Authority Network on other videos. So make sure that you come back and you look for these videos, and I'll cover each and every one of these and show you how to completely eliminate these objections. Final thought here. Many supporting videos, there are psychological paradigms and strategies all over this video. Now, what you can do here is at the Mind Authority Network, for example, we talked about third-party metaphor. Go up to the search box, and I want you to search the word there as it says metaphor, and a video will come up. And the video is, I once had a client just like you, and they loved learning. Well, that video will explain to you the entire concept of third-party metaphor. Now, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 videos here that these are all psychological techniques and paradigms that were in what we just covered in the house party formula. Make sure that you watch these videos when you have time so that you can further enhance, further solidify your learning. And these videos will help you better understand all the psychology wrapped up in the house party video and how you can use it to close more business. If you have any questions, go below, leave any comments, any questions you might have. I'll be glad to help you out. I'll be glad to help you talk about how you can instantly and easily start applying this to your house parties so that you can grow your business. This is Jim Fortin, MindAuthorityNetwork.com. Thanks for watching. Come on back and watch more videos, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.